Oh,
Hi, everyone. I'm Christina Dooley from Michelle Consulting. I am very excited to welcome Ellen from the University of Manitoba. And I just said to Ellen before we started recording that this is a first for us. We actually haven't had a rep from University of Manitoba join us before. And so I am selfishly incredibly excited to learn more about the university. And without further ado, Ellen, I'll let you take it away and introduce yourself and your connection, also your other connection to the University of Manitoba besides working there. So go ahead.
of course. Thank you so much again for having me. So I'm just going to jump right in. So my name is Ellen, and I'm a student recruitment officer here with the University of Manitoba. And I primarily help with a lot of our recruitment efforts in Canada as well as the United States. And I'm actually from Minnesota myself and went to the University of Manitoba, graduated just this past December, and then started working with them in January. And as a student, I earned my degree from our Asper School of Business and graduated with a degree in marketing information systems as well as MIS for short, and then as well as marketing. So I'm just going to jump right in and start talking about Winnipeg, Canada. So here is a map of North America with Manitoba being the province highlighted there in white. And as you'll see, it's very central to North America and Canada especially. Then Winnipeg, the capital city, as well as where we're located, is that blue dot in the bottom right corner. And for reference, Winnipeg, the city, it's just about an hour north from the Canada-US border in North Dakota. So, a little bit about life in Canada. Here, we're known for being welcoming, friendly, and safe. And with deciding to pursue your degree here in Canada, you'll have the opportunity to explore flexible and high quality education options, as well as get a long term return on your investment, which at the end of the day is your degree. Then, specifically about Winnipeg, Manitoba, we offer affordable housing, a low cost of living, as well as diverse employment options. And we were named one of Canada's best communities by Mecklen's. This is due in fact to that we have over 130 days of festivals. So there's always something going on in the city. You get to experience all four seasons here, from our bright, sunny summer days to our beautiful, snowy winter days. As well as we have over 1,300 urban parks in Winnipeg alone. So I always find that really nice because there's little pockets of nature throughout the entire city. And here, I just wanted to talk about a few general differences between Canadian universities and American universities. So, here in Canada, and especially at the University of Manitoba, our degrees are internationally recognized and accredited. So, that means that you'll be able to take your degree basically anywhere, whether it be for grad schools or to work. And to study in Canada, a study permit is required for non Canadian citizens, but that's something you would apply for after you receive your offer of admissions from a university. Also, many schools here in Canada do not require SAT or ACT scores, which I'll talk more about later on. And then, lastly, admissions decisions here in Canada do typically go out a little later than they do in the US, where it's not uncommon to receive your offer of admissions around or after May 1st. Now, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our campus. So here is a aerial shot of our Fort Garry campus. And it's located in the south end of the city, and it's here where all of our students begin their academic journey with us at So we always encourage students that if they're interested in attending, to check out our spaces, whether it be in person or we do offer online live tours, as well as a 360 virtual tour where you'd be able to explore all of our different spaces and buildings at your own time at the link. And all of those options can be found at the link on the screen. And then a few fun facts about the University of Manitoba. So we are the oldest university in Western Canada. We were founded in 1877. As well as here at you can earn a top Canadian degree, like I've already been talking about, but at one of the lowest international tuition rates in all of Canada. We're also the only research intensive institution in Manitoba, leading research efforts in Arctic climate change, HIV and AIDS, as well as human rights and social justice. And we're a member of Canada's U15 Universities Group, which is a top group of the top 15 research institutions across all of Canada. So that's very comparable to the Ivy League schools in the States. And since we're a member of the U15 group, that means we attract a lot of top quality professors as well as research funding. So, as a student, that means you get countless hands on learning opportunities, as well as then you're being taught by experts in their respective fields. Here at UM, we're home to an inclusive, culturally rich, and diverse community with over 29,000 students. And of those 29,000 students, roughly about 20% of them are international students from over 122 different countries around the world. So that's really fun then because when you're in your classes and just attending different student events, you're getting to meet people from all over the world and just people from all different walks of life. So it's a really fun place then, as well as we have alumni in over 221, or we have over 221,000 alumni in over 134 countries around the world. So, like I was talking about with how our degrees are internationally recognized and accredited, whether you end up planning to stay in Winnipeg or in Canada after you graduate or go elsewhere, your degree really does set you up for success. So now I'm going to talk a little bit about what we offer to our students beyond the classroom. So first, I'm going to talk about living on campus, which does offer our students tons of different conveniences as well as a sense of a built-in community. And I found living on campus my first year as well, being from Minnesota and having that sense of built-in community, that really did help me during my first year and in my studies. And at UM, we do have 6 on-campus residence options. To live on campus with a meal plan for the academic year does range from around 10,000 to 17,000 Canadian per year, but that all depends on what building you're living in as well as what level of meal plan you choose. And we always encourage students to apply for residence as early as possible if they're planning to live on campus because rooms are on a first come first served basis. But to apply to live on campus, you do not need an offer of admissions or a study permit. Then just a few of these student supports that we have here on campus that are all designed to help you through every step of your academic journey, whether it be in the classroom or outside the classroom. This is through the form of academic supports and success, such as academic advisors and our career services office, which are all here to help you plan your degree and get to graduation, as well as then they're able to help you with postgrad and career planning. We also offer health and wellness supports in the form of personal counseling. We have everyday student supports, whether that be in the form of our student accessibility office. If you feel like you just need a little extra help in the classroom, they're able to help set up accommodations for you. We also have financial supports and emergency funds available, a food bank on campus, as well as other supports to help with finding housing. Then, lastly, we also have programs and supports for our 2S LGBTQ, international and Indigenous students. Now, I'm a little biased, but I do think we have an amazing student experience here at UM with over 150 different student groups and clubs, as well as volunteering options, which are all great ways to get involved and meet new friends. Then we also have an amazing travel and study abroad program where you have the opportunity to study abroad for a term or maybe even 2 in over 20 different countries. And one of the best parts about this program is you still pay UM tuition rates and fees as opposed to the country you're studying in, which does make it a really affordable option for a lot of our students. Then also, as a student, you have access to our Active Living Center or ALC, which is the gym that we have here on campus that offers over 38,000 square feet of everything fitness and workout imaginable, including over 1,500 pieces of workout equipment, a pool, multiple gyms, and 2 climbing walls, and access to fitness classes. Like I said, all of that's included in your student fees. Then also, you can cheer on our Bison varsity athletic teams, which was always my personal favorite thing to do as a student was to go with a group of friends to cheer on our other friends on various teams, some of which are now playing professional sports in places like Japan and New Zealand. Then the last thing I'm going to talk about beyond the classroom is our experiential learning. So, like how I mentioned, how UM is a part of the U15 Universities group, and how that attracts a lot of top quality professors and research funding, and how that then gives you the opportunity for hands on learning. That's through the different routes such as internships, research, and fieldwork, as well as through our co op programs. So, here at UM, we have the largest co op program in the province of Manitoba, and 44 of our degree programs offer a co op opportunity that allows students to work with real companies, earning real work experience. So by the time you graduate, you have that internationally recognized Canadian degree, but you also then have relevant work experience in your desired field. Now I'm going to start talking about our undergraduate programs. So here is a list of all of the undergraduate programs that we have here to offer at UM. And the best way to understand all of this information is the blue, bolded, and underlined titles. Those are all of our faculties and schools. And then all of the programs that those faculties and schools offer are listed underneath that. When you're looking at some of the programs, you'll notice that some of them have a blue star next to it. That means that that program is only offered as a minor. If it has a yellow dot next to it, that means that program offers a co-op program like I was just talking about. Then anything with a red maple leaf next to it means that those programs are unfortunately only available to Canadian citizens or permanent residents. But here is a simplified view of just all of the faculties and schools. And here at UM, we have two different admissions routes, being either direct entry or advanced entry. And these are all of our direct entry programs. So these are all programs that current high school students can apply for directly from high school, as well as anyone with less than 24 credit hours of post secondary level studies. And then advanced entry programs, on the other hand, require at least 1 year, if not more, of post secondary level studies. And I do just want to take a moment to talk about our University One program, which I think is a great program and is definitely unique to us here at UM. And University One, it provides students with the flexibility to take courses from a variety of our different programs if you're possibly still undecided between what program might be right for you. It's also a great place to start your studies if the program you're interested in requires 1 year or more of studies. So, like those advanced entry programs on the earlier slide, as well as University One is ideal if you don't quite meet the admissions requirements yet for your desired program. And then lastly, I just think it's a super fun program because 53%, so over half of our first year students start their studies in University One. So it really is a great place to meet new students and make friends. And one of the questions we do get a lot about University One is if it adds any overall time to your degree. But the answer to that is no. So looking at the circle diagram on the bottom of the screen, you'll see that whether you start your studies in University One or direct entry into a faculty, that's still just your first year of studies. And then after your first year in University One, you can either move into the Faculty of Arts, Faculty of Science, or apply to your desired program. And then starting in your second year, you continue your studies in that second program as if that's where you started. Now that you know what we have to offer to our students outside the classroom, as well as what programs we have to offer, I'm going to go over our admissions requirements. So, like I already mentioned, here at UM, we do not require any SAT or ACT scores, but rather we require that students meet three admissions requirements. First, being that students have to meet the general requirements for your country of study, which for the US, we require students to have a senior high school graduation certificate or diploma, as well as then we require students to meet the program specific admissions requirements for their program of choice. And then thirdly, we do require students to demonstrate English language proficiency when applicable, but we do have quite a few waivers for this requirement, one of which including if you're from a country that is exempt from this requirement, which does include the US, you do not need to provide proof of this requirement then. But going over our direct entry admission requirements, again, just the general requirement that all students have to meet is that high school diploma with 5 full credits at the senior level. Now, we're going to look at two different faculties just so I can kind of demonstrate what I mean when I say students have to meet the program specific admissions requirements. So, first, we're going to look at engineering as an example, where we require students to have a minimum average of a B grade or 80% with no less than a C plus or 70% in English, pre-calculus mathematics, physics, and chemistry. And I do want to note as well, here at UM, we do recognize that not all students in the US necessarily take all of those courses during their senior year. So we can actually look as far back as 10th grade for those specific course requirements. And then comparing this to University One, though, you'll see that we require a minimum average of a C plus or 70% with no less than a C minus, 60% in English or first language literature, mathematics, and 2 other academic courses. So you can kind of see here what I mean when I say program specific requirements and how they do vary depending on what program you're applying to. But we always encourage students, if they're possibly interested in applying specifically to a program like engineering to apply, even if they're not quite sure if they'll meet that 80% minimum by the end of their senior year, because if by the time we get your final transcript and unfortunately you don't quite meet that requirement, we will automatically move your application to University One to be reconsidered for admissions there. And I do just also want to mention that here at we do accept AP and IB courses, and they are recognized for admissions purposes, transfer credit, and scholarships. So it's just really important when you're filling out your application that you indicate that you've taken either AP or IB courses and release those scores to us as soon as they're available to you. So, like I said, they can be used for admissions, we can be granted transfer credit, as well as scholarships. Now I'm going to go over the application process. So this application timeline will be looking at our fall 2025 application timeline, with the first important date being October 1st, and this is when our applications open. And then the next important date is January 15th, specifically for our Faculty of Music. And this is when, if you're interested in applying to this faculty, deadline to apply by. And this one is just a bit earlier than the rest of our programs because there is an audition component for this program. But the most important date on this timeline is March 1st, and this is when the rest of our applications close. And then on May 1st, we require any outstanding documents to be submitted by then, just so that we can continue to process your application. And then the last important date is July 7th, and this is when we require any final official documents to be submitted by, such as any final official transcripts or proof of graduation. So we need those by July 7th, as well as on that is when course registration starts. But in order to apply to it is 3 easy steps, with the first step being just to review the admissions requirement for your desired program, applying by March 1st, and then paying the application fee, which is $130 Canadian for international students. Then the second step is to submit any outstanding documents. So just want to send those in as soon as you can so that we can process your application as quickly as possible. And then the third, final, and most exciting step is to accept your offer. So once we have all of your documents and they're able to be processed, you'll get an email letting you know that decision's been made on your application, prompting you to log in to your application portal and accept your offer. And then at this time as well, you'll just want to send in any of those final documents we're still asking for, as well as attend our Next Steps webinar, which is designed to help you start registering for and preparing for the upcoming term. Now, the last thing I'm going to talk about is our tuition fees and scholarships. So here I just have an estimate of what students can expect to pay during their first year of studies here at And I do want to note that all of these prices are in Canadian dollars. So when we're looking at all of these different amounts, first looking at tuition, I do want to mention that this amount is just a general estimate average, but it does vary depending on how many courses the student takes, as well as what types of courses. So for example, this $20,000, it is assuming that a student's taking a full course load, so 5 courses in the fall term and 5 courses in the winter term, so 10 courses during the year. But like I said, this amount can definitely go down if you take fewer courses. So it's just something to keep in mind. And then we estimate around $3,500 for just books, supplies, and student fees. So that includes things like the gym I was talking about earlier. So on average, we estimate that students would spend around 24,000 Canadian their first year in order to attend which is some of the lowest across all of Canada, like I mentioned. But I also want to mention that with the current US conversion rate, currently about $1 is the equivalent to $1.36 Canadian. So applying that conversion rate to this amount, it's closer to around 17,000 US then per year. And then last thing I'll talk about is our entrance scholarships. So here at our entrance scholarships, students are automatically considered for these scholarships as long as they apply by March 1st. And in order to receive them, you just need an average grader or equal to 85%. You get a $1,000 Canadian scholarship. An average grader or equal to 90%, you get $2,000. And then an average grader or equal to 95%, you receive a $3,000 Canadian scholarship. As well as then, like I mentioned, we do offer AP and IB scholarship top-up enhancements. So if you qualify for our entrance scholarship and then have those advanced level courses, you can earn an additional 150 to 250 Canadian dollar scholarship per course that you took. But of course, when it comes to scholarships as well, I would like to mention and encourage students to also apply for any external scholarships through their high school or communities as well, because those can be used at UM. So thank you so much for listening to my presentation today. And if you have any questions, you can either reach out to myself directly or our domestic and international student recruitment at the email address on the screen.
Perfect. I actually do have some questions for you based on some of the things you shared. I hope that's okay. Um, and I was writing them down in order of our presentation materials, which were fantastic. Thank you for doing that. So my question, because obviously it's different than the United States in terms of those deadlines and when the notifications are, when does school actually begin? Is it in September? And you had those 3 different dates. So the traditional one would be a September start date.
Yes. Yep. So
Okay.
all of our programs do offer a September start date.
Mhm.
So we do start, like this year, classes started September 5th, I believe it was. So
Okay.
it do start that early September. And then for some of our other programs, such as our University One, Faculty of Science, Faculty of Arts, they offer intakes as well for our winter term to start in January, as well as our summer term to start in May.
Okay.
So
Perfect. Thank you. That's helpful. When you were talking about residence life, is it uncommon for upper class students to be living on campus? Is it primarily just first year students that are living in those residence halls?
we have students in all years of their studies live on campus. One of our buildings specifically is reserved for second year students and up. So it just depends what students are looking for and what they want of living on campus, because we do have between the 6 buildings that we offer, they do range from a more communal area or more communal style where it's shared bedrooms, shared bathrooms, ranging all the way up to private bedrooms with private bathrooms. And then that building as well, that's specifically reserved for second year students and up, they are shared. It's a shared unit with a small little kitchen and then 2 private bedrooms. So it's kind
Okay.
of where the price range comes into effect as well, since our buildings do vary quite a bit.
Okay. Is it easy to find housing off campus for those students who are going to live off campus?
There's tons of different apartment buildings in the area, as well as since we're located in the south end of the city, we're right next to a neighborhood as well. So there are tons of house rentals that I know students find as well.
Cool. Along those lines, as someone who's never been to Winnipeg, let alone Manitoba in general, so tell me in terms of the community there, what is it like? What's the area around campus like?
The area directly around campus, since we're in a neighborhood, it's really quiet. Campus really is like its own little community. Since in our university center, we have like a convenience store, we have our bookstore, food court. Winnipeg, we also, just forgot to mention, but we also have the Canadian Football League. So the Canadian Professional Football League, Winnipeg Blue Bombers, their stadium is on our campus. So that's
Oh,
also
wow.
where our men's varsity football team plays out of as well. So whether it's the Bisons playing or the Winnipeg Blue Bombers, there's a really exciting and fun game day atmosphere that's always happening throughout the fall as well. But otherwise, Winnipeg in general, it has some really nice areas downtown, specifically an area called the Forks, where it's just a lot of different little shops and it's right along the river. So it's a really nice, pretty area to walk around. As well as then we have the Winnipeg Jets hockey team, which is also downtown, and their games are always super fun. So it's, yeah, overall,
Cool.
I'd say it's a really good city, great place for college. But same
Cool.
time, to be honest, be transparent, like any city, there are um, just different areas throughout.
Yeah, you just got to be smart. Yeah,
Exactly.
pay attention. It sounds really great though that you've got kind of the best of both worlds with a residential community, but also access to stuff, that you can get to some things and activities off campus if you wanted to. So speaking of this, that's awesome that you guys have the Canadian football team that's playing on campus. That's amazing. So what about, you mentioned earlier, like your experience that you had a lot of fun going to like sporting events as a student. So what are the popular sports teams on campus, other than the professional one, but other than the actual ones that are from the university, what are the ones that students actually really like to attend?
Definitely our, like I just said, like our men's football team, just because they do get to
Okay.
play in that professional stadium.
Yeah.
Otherwise, our women's soccer team, they always do really great every year. Being in Canada, our men's and women's hockey team, they always have a great turnout as well. Those are always really fun games to go to as well, just because there'd be a lot of student games in between periods. So always enjoyed those. And then, like I mentioned, I have a friend playing uh, the professional sports in New Zealand, and he's playing professional basketball. So we'd always go to the men's basketball teams, so or team games.
Yeah.
Um, really just lots of them because then also they're obviously student athletes, so I meet a lot of the athletes in a lot of my classes. So
Mhm. That's
yeah,
cool. That's awesome. I just have a couple more questions.
of course.
So one question, I was mentioning before we got on to Ellen that we work with students all over all over the United States as well as internationally. And you mentioned, Ellen, the language proficiency. So a question is, if we have a student that we're working with, or there's a student who's watching this, goes to an American school or a British school where the language of instruction is English, would that suffice for their English proficiency? Because they're, even if their native language is, let's say if they're going to the American school of Sao Paulo and their native language is Portuguese, but they're in a school where the language of instruction is English, would they still have to submit test scores from a language proficiency exam, or is there a waiver?
For any situations like that, we just always encourage students to email us.
Okay.
So again, emailing the student underscore recruitment, just so that we can look into the situation a bit more and get the most accurate information possible. Just because that English language proficiency is really important for us at UM,
Yeah.
and students do need to demonstrate that one way or another in order to be offered admissions. So yeah, I'd say email us. You can also find all of the waivers on our website as well. If you just Google UMELP, the web page should come up then.
Okay, awesome. When you're looking at applicants, application materials, are you, in the United States, it's very common for universities to track demonstrated interest. You know, how much does a student really want to come here? Is that a factor at all in your review?
No, so like I was kind of saying, we do just have those three admissions requirements.
Yeah.
So admissions, especially at UM here, we really are just looking and focused on those senior level grades. And that's what admissions is based on then. So we're not really looking at the test scores, like I mentioned. We don't
Yeah,
require essays, resume references, anything like that, since
it's
it
much more
is
simple.
based on academics. Yes.
Yeah, you make it really streamlined and simple. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um, you mentioned some of this, you mentioned the scholarship piece of it, and you said that students are automatically considered. Are there any scholarships that you have where a student would be required to submit additional application materials, or like an additional application of any sort, or they're all automatic consideration?
So for the entrance scholarship, that's the one that students
Hmm.
are
Yeah,
automatically considered for. That
yeah.
is kind of our for international students, that is the only direct scholarship we offer.
Hmm.
But we always encourage students, like I said, to apply for external scholarships and just ensuring that the details of that scholarship that it can be used at a Canadian school. And as
Hmm.
long as it can be, we can accept it. We also accept FAFSA funding as well. And
Okay.
more information about that can also be found on our website. Now, if you Google US loans, all of that information comes up as well about how to use FAFSA loans in Canada.
Got it. That your comment about making sure that external scholarships could be applied to the University of Manitoba, that's a really great point. I don't know that students actually are paying attention to that, to be honest, in terms of, you know, maybe they're awarded something from their local or in a local organization or something, but there's like a, you know, a little asterisk that said it's for US institutions only or something like that. So thank you for bringing that up. I have two really quick fun questions, and then I promise that will be it. Um, you mentioned that list of majors was, or faculty, you know, faculty, and then the programs underneath was really extensive. from your perspective, I know you went to school there, so you may be a little bit biased in terms of what's great, but are there programs that you feel like are like highlight programs, ones that people really, when they hear University of Manitoba, they're the programs that stand out to people?
So, of that program list, we offer over 100 different programs. So,
A
I
lot.
can understand that page definitely looks like a lot. So in 1877, we did start as an agriculture college, but since then, and since we offer so many programs, it is really hard to say like if one is flying under the radar or if one's more popular than another, just because throughout all of our faculties and programs, the like the departments themselves do so well about developing their programs and student experiences. So it really is just like whatever a student is interested in, whatever program they go into, there's going to be amazing opportunities and supports and just really fun things throughout. Like, I know, for example, through our Faculty of Science, we have an amazing astronomy department with telescopes and everything that students get to use, or through our Faculty of Kinesiology and Recreation Management. One of the classes is a weightlifting class where they get to learn how to properly use a squat rack. For myself, through the Asper School of Business, I had a few classes that involved like stock trading and actually looking at the New York Stock Exchange, which I thought was always really fun. So there's just little hidden things throughout all of our programs that offer that hands-on learning and make them really fun for whatever the degree is.
That's great. Thank you. And then my last question, and this is particularly relevant because, or I should say, you should be a great person to answer this because you are a graduate. What's your favorite tradition at the University of Manitoba? What is something that every student that leaves there says, that's really cool that we do this or that this happens here?
They're a really good question. Just because we really do so much on campus, and now I'm meaning to think through
Is
all
there
my
like
time.
an annual something or other?
I know just because it's happening right now, it comes to mind, our welcome week. So classes started last week for us, and even though it's called a welcome week, it's really like a 2-week event where UMSU, our University of Manitoba Student Union, they are hosting carnivals and fairs throughout our main student building as well as outside. And then our Asper School of Business on our main quad during the second week, they set up an area where they have like drinks and games and different table or different companies come in doing giveaways. So it's really just a lot of fun and exciting events all happening throughout that first week. There's a silent disco I know that's happening. And that really is just like when I talk to my friends and stuff about when we started, it really does just all go back to that first week and being like, I don't remember everything that happened because it was just also new, but it was just so much fun. And that's when you meet so many people and make so many like close, quick friends. So probably that. But again, like I was talking about all the sports games and now just other things are coming to mind. But keep it simple and say definitely the welcome week events.
Yeah, that's great that that's still in your mind as one of your best memories. So that's great. Well, thank you so much for joining us and sharing information about the University of Manitoba. For those watching this recording, Alan's provided some fantastic contact information here, all different kinds of ways that you can keep in touch with them, get in touch with them if you have any questions about anything. And I really appreciate the really thorough and very succinct information that you shared today, Alan. It was really helpful. And I'm sure that obviously you've got like some of these other social media type things. I know it's always fun to kind of see what like Welcome Week, I'm sure is being profiled like some like on your Instagram or something like that. So definitely take some time and check out the University of Manitoba. And Alan, thank you for taking the time. I know this is a busy time of year for you guys as you're launching into recruitment season. And we wish you the very best and hope that we can keep in touch and see you again sometime soon. Okay. Thank you so much.
Thanks. Okay.
Bye.